Boom. Yeah. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Comedian Bible Study. I'm your boy, Sean Grant. I'm here as always with my man, Channing. Say what's up, Channing.
What up?
Yeah, look at that face, man. Thank you guys who powered through those first few episodes without seeing Channing's sexy face. But there it is, okay? And guys, as always, we're just pawns in the game, baby. We're just here. All right, we're just a squirrel in my guest world, okay? And I'm so excited to bring this man on right here, man. I've been an admirer of him for many years. He is a touring stand-up comic and writer and an acclaimed podcaster, okay? And he's the creator of the Chatterbox Comedy Night out in Covina. Please, big round of applause for my brother right here, Steven Hernandez.
Yes. Yes.
Shannon,
oh, my goodness. Sean,
yeah.
So good to be here.
Dude, thank you for being. And in fact, because I've known you for years, but like other comics, like literally 2 or 3 different comics were like, man, what you're doing, you got to have Steve on. He's got a very cool story, interesting story about comedy. As you guys know, we bring people in from all different stances. The only thing is you got to be a comic, and you brought the word today. But what's your theological stance at this moment in time?
Have you heard the term ex-evangelical?
Ex-evangelical. No, I haven't heard, but it's like, so I guess like David Smalley used to like knock on doors and
No.
Like
it just means
so,
I used to be an evangelical and I've deconstructed my faith. But I grew up in an evangelical church. I grew up in a church that became a mega church. Yeah. And I was a youth pastor at that church.
Word.
Yeah, until I was about 23 years old. And then I spent about 10, 12 years. And I would say to this day, I'm still deconstructing my faith. And whatever that means. So
word. So and it's like and so your parents obviously highlight because you grew up in it.
My mom, we moved to West Covina from Lincoln Heights when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Lincoln Heights is in
it's like Highland Park.
Oh, Highland Park. Okay,
yeah, it's like around there. And we lived in an apartment there, and then we moved when I was 4 or 5 years old to West Covina. Then a neighbor woman brought us when I was like 6 or 7, maybe brought us to the church, Faith Community Church, where...
I love how you said neighbor woman.
Yeah, she was straight up a neighbor woman. Oh. She was like an older, like a Latina grandma.
Is that a term? I've never heard that before.
I mean,
like
I don't know.
A female neighbor?
Neighbor woman? I mean, she was like a grandma, so she...
Oh, okay.
That's like a very literary term.
Yeah, dude, you're so smart, dude.
She brought us to Vacation Bible School. Yeah. That's how a lot of churches suck in families, you know. And we went, and I loved it. I fell in love with... There's a puppet show about the miracle of the fish and the bread loaves. You know that story?
Can you break down what'd you call it? Bible?
You guys don't know about, I mean, VBS?
Oh, I know. Channing's very new to the
VBS is Vacation Bible School.
So
churches will have like a week in the summer where you can take your kids. It's basically free daycare. And it's like church all day, and they do like fun activities. But that's what they use to suck in families. And it 1,000% worked in this instance. So there's puppet shows and games for like 4 hours. They'll do it Monday through Friday, and then like on Friday, the last day, there's like a graduation where the whole family comes and watches the thing.
You graduate to like just leave?
This is like it's a performance or something. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, we sing a song or something. You have kids, right?
No, my wife and I don't have any.
You don't have any kids?
No kids.
You feel so much like a dad.
Nah, I got dad energy. I got
grandpa energy.
I got grandpa. I skip right. In fact, I'm gonna just adopt a grandkid. I don't even think we should
what were you talking,
mess with
we were
kids.
talking about that fight on the last episode, and you were talking about how you were gonna shoot them.
Oh, I shoot young people. Get out of here, young buck. Get out of here, young buck. Come on, young fella. Don't do that. Don't do that like that. You know,
the young blood.
Yeah. That scares them. They're like, oh, this old dude is scared. But that's interesting, dude. No, thank you for bringing. Look, man, I appreciate you bringing your story and your ideas because I just want to relate on this level to comics because I feel like comics are just such pure people in that we have a very specific intention and we can be honest throughout the process. And you were very young, obviously, when you first started with.
Oh yeah, when I first started. But I mean, I fell in love with the Bible like pretty early.
Yeah. which is not necessary for the show. A lot of guys who are scared to be on the, you don't have to know nothing about the Bible. It's study. It's in the Word. It's Bible study. So I don't profess to be any type of teacher, pastor, heretic. I'm just a comic, and I like the way comics think. You guys are my favorite people, and I get to talk about my favorite thing, which is my God. Man, I like to talk about God. Not everybody got to believe in my God. I can believe in Jesus all by myself. But I'm glad that you picked the word for today, Steven, man, and you brought a dope word from the book of Matthew. We were just in Matthew last week with Leah, but here we are. We're in Matthew chapter 25 this time, and I'm going to read out of the NIV, and it's verse 31 through 40. So we'll start at 31. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. 32. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people from one another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. 33. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. 34. The king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world." 35. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. Oh, that's good. For I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. Oh, watch out. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. 36. I needed clothes. You clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. 37. Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we," these people want to question the Lord, "when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink?" 38. When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? 39. When did we see you sick or in prison and go visit you? What are you talking about, man? 40. The king will reply, "Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it for me." A little background, quick again. The Gospel of Matthew is the first book of the New Testament in the Bible as far as canonization is concerned, and one of the three synoptic Gospels. Spoiler alert, at this part of the story, Jesus is about to die. And here Jesus is giving an example of how the kingdom of heaven is inherited and by whom. Why'd you choose this passage, Stephen?
I like this. If there's still any religion left in me, I do believe that the only religion that I respect is helping poor people.
Poor people.
That's what this is about.
Yes.
And if you keep reading those things too, he calls the goats the bad people.
Bad. Sorry.
He says.
We did not rehearse that,
he says if you did not do any of these things to me,
Yes.
you turned me away too, and I'm going to send you to hell. That's what he said. So if you're not helping strangers, if you're not feeding the hungry, visiting prisoners, if you're not, to me, this is the only true Christianity is helping poor people.
Right. Absolutely.
There you go.
Oh man, is that a part of your daily like? Do you like what event? I don't know what you say. Like charitable things? Do you feel like
I don't do hardly anything.
Word.
Yeah, but that's my. I don't really believe this stuff anymore.
Word.
But I do think that this is true Christianity, right there. If you want to subscribe to those things,
yeah,
I do think it's becoming increasingly difficult. The way our world's set up too is to even do any of those things.
Right,
like I don't know what to do about the homeless problem.
Right.
But this is what the Bible directly talks about. And most Christianity, when you read quotes from Jesus of Nazareth and his brother James, especially the book of James, which I love.
Yeah.
He's just all he's doing is talking shit about rich people.
Right.
So I just think it's funny that modern Christianity rarely does that at all.
Right. And you saw the process of your church becoming a mega church. What do you think money did to that? To the church itself as a part of it?
It was awful. It was awful. I remember when I started, it was a big church, 500 people. That's a big church.
That's pretty big.
When I left, we were at 13,500.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's a crowd.
When we left, I remember the offerings, and this was 20 years ago. When I left, the offerings were at 115, 120,000 a week.
Oh,
whoa!
That's some righteous
Yeah.
gemstone shit.
Right.
Right. That's what it was. I know that the pastor and his family, even now, I know that they live at the beach. This is a church in West Covina.
Okay.
They live at the beach.
That's far.
They come in and preach on Sundays, and they go back.
Go back to Venice or something like that.
Newport, man.
Woo!
I'm not living in Venice. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Word.
I
knew it was Newport.
Yeah, of course. That's where the whites hang out. And of course they just recently sold the property. When I was 15 years old, we bought a Hughes aircraft like production thing in West Covina. I think it's like 3 or 4 acres for, I want to say $3 million. So this was 25 years ago. And they just sold it to Amazon for $35 million.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah. And I have no idea what they're going to do with that money.
Right. Is this all public record? Do you just know it from knowing the old homies? Or?
No, that's all public records. It's in the paper and everything.
What was the name of the church?
It was Faith Community Church. I believe they're just called Faith Church now. I was I had a Bible. I had a podcast up until maybe a year ago called Read the Bible with Me that I went for like a year. I had one previously called Who's Your God with Amy Miller.
Yeah.
But we would check in on the church like regularly.
Checking on this specific church?
Yes, they tried to pass down they tried to pass the church down to the son, who's around my age, who I grew up with, and he's like one of the worst preachers I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, he's just not exciting, just boring.
It's bad. I would show you clips. True bombing.
Wow.
I posted clips of this guy and everything.
Oh, I gotta check.
Yeah. Truly a bad preacher. Which was very rough, but that's, a lot of these churches like the right, I mean, the plot's not too different from the Righteous Gemstones, where they're trying to pass it down, but nobody respects the kid.
The kid, yeah, dude. I mean,
when's the last time you checked up on that Amazon deal?
I think it's been a while.
It says here, this article was written, March 11, 2022. Amazon pulled out of that deal.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah.
That's great news. I love that.
That's 40. What was it? 38 million.
That I had heard upwards of 40 million. Yeah.
That Jeff Bezos gets to keep instead.
Thank God. That's great. That actually makes me really happy because I don't know what they were going to do with that money, and I know these people. They're not good people. Yeah.
That's interesting to me, the idea of them bombing, though, because I mean, comics, we're talking about bad comics, which people who do it for the wrong reasons, and it comes out, right? Yeah. Obviously, like Channing said, he met somebody that said they want to offend people. Like, that's his goal in comics, to offend people, like not to make them laugh, which is insane to me. But it's like, that's so interesting, because it seems like a lot more is at stake with preaching. Like, you chase people to the devil if you bad.
It would seem that way, right? But if you don't really care about that, and if you care about control, and this family obviously was just going to pass this on to someone, it's just what's the word? I can't even think about it.
Nepotism?
It's just straight nepotism. And if you could say God said this was supposed to happen, and trust me, these people could find any scripture to back up anything.
Oh, you could do it. Let me tell you something. This is 66 books written over a period of 1,500 years. Yeah. Any human behavior can be, if you take it out of context and take some words, you can make up all kind of justifications for some crazy stuff.
Absolutely. And it's all in there too.
If you really want to do that, man, if you're not really dividing this word right, if you're not separating it into law and the gospel of grace and seeing how things work together, how even this faith leading to works, which is something that we even talked about with Leah, like how the faith itself leads you to, it's not that you do the work to get the righteousness and people celebrate you, or you give the money so everybody, you do that because the faith is in you and this and this and that. So it's like, but if you take things out of context and break them down, man, you could do some insane stuff. There's some crazy, I love me some Christian people, but there's some crazy people love Jesus too.
Yeah.
Crazy people do all kind of stuff, and this Bible can be, what would you say is the actual, like, maybe if you could pinpoint something that ran you up out of there, man? Was it a personal thing that happened in your life, or was it that heresy that you saw from the pulpit itself?
I think I needed a little distance to like see the heresy or any of that stuff. But I always had problems with the Bible, or what I should say, what the Bible said about God. The Bible says that God, in the Old Testament, murdered people. The God that I knew and loved never murdered anyone.
Right.
I just fully believe that. The God I knew probably didn't have any issues. I had big issues with gay people, about people saying that gay people were going to go to hell. Right. I knew gay people, and at first I used to think, well, maybe that's just God's test for them, and they're supposed to just carry this weight and be alone. Right. And that didn't sound like anything, after a while, that God wanted for anyone to be alone like that. So I just kept punching holes into me, and I had to choose. Jesus says that God is like the greatest father that's ever lived, the Father in heaven. And so I just, the idea of hell, that a father would make anyone pay in eternal fire forever.
Right.
There are just things like this where I either had to choose. The Bible was either perfect and inerrant, and then it said some pretty bad things about God, in my opinion, or the God that I fell in love with, that I believe is real, that is love, that he is not exactly what the Bible says he is.
Right. And I think we put our human perception on, because even the idea that God would murder, if he created everybody's life, if his essence is in everybody, I guess my life would end one of two ways. Either it's manslaughter, or like God allows somebody else to kill me, or God takes me away like he did Enoch, which is in the book of Enoch.
Yeah, I'm thinking of when even the flood of Noah, where he's like, all right, I'm going to wipe them out.
Right.
This is a mess. I'm going to just kill them. And that just doesn't sound like the God that I believe in or love.
Right. And it says, because God is the source of all people. It's at least from perception, it's like the idea, or one way to look at it. I guess you could look at these are all individual people, but if their source is from one thing, which is God, which is Abraham's idea, monotheism, one source, one God, right? So then we're not really separate. Even Jesus said, love your neighbor as that is you. Not as much as you love yourself.
Well, in the scripture you read,
yes,
he said, when you come in contact with all of these people, that's me.
That's me. That's us.
So that means that we are all God. I know this sounds crazy, but this is the stuff Jesus said as well.
Well, yeah, and it gets crazy when we say it in words, right? Because words do that. Words sound crazy. Like even the idea, like let's say a great analogy I've heard for this idea is like if the sun is the source of and if I was a sun ray, right? This is how Eckhart Tolle, right? So I don't want to plagiarize. Eckhart Tolle said, but you're a sun ray and I'm a sun ray. We aren't realizing behind us we're from the same source. It's not quite accurate to say that I'm the sun itself. I'm a ray of light from the sun, but I'm not separate from you. We're from the same. Yes. So I think that's like that understanding, that perception of human beings will allow you to realize that worshiping God is celebrating and worshiping the source of all of us, the oneness, the thing that we come from, and everything that separates it is what happens after you're born. The conditioning, the thing that makes you Steve Hernandez, your parentage, your race, your location on this planet, the language you speak. And then when we worship those things, which is what people are mostly worshiping, they're worshiping culture. Even some lady, they're talking about wholesome words and all this type of stuff. I don't believe words are inherently wholesome or not wholesome. It's the meaning. That's what I love about talking to people where I'm from. I'm from Miami, Florida. If you're going to communicate with me and my culture, right, I got to know what you mean. That's why I keep asking, what you mean by that? Like, you know what I'm talking about? No, I mean, you feel me? The idea that I need to know what you mean by that is the essence. And I think that when you had a relationship with God, that's what you were getting. Because they talk about two different types of word in the Greek. There's logos word, which is written word. And then there's rhema word, which is how God communicates, and the words proceedeth out of the mouth of God. So do you feel like you still have a relationship with the Bible in that sense, or do you feel like you just kind of mixed it all together? Like
No. I don't. I think the Bible is a story of a people trying to figure out who God was.
Right.
And I think, especially when you're talking about the Old Testament and the early stuff, right, I think that they were wrong. Sometimes that God didn't kill them.
And they admit too, even the word Israel means he who struggles with God. That's how Jacob got his name.
Yeah, Jacob wrestling with God.
With the Christophany of Jesus, one of the early Christophany is, I don't mean to tell Shannon this, Mr. Trivia man over here, with these BS, but Christophany is like an early manifestation of Jesus in the Old Testament. And there's different examples of it, but one of them is him wrestling with Jacob, breaking his hip, and Jacob not letting him go until he blessed him. He said, look, man, he can't go nowhere until you bless me. But it's good that so there's still something. You talked about a loving father, and I've actually heard you talk about your father in a very endearing way on other podcasts and stuff. So is he still a man of faith? Does he still go to church? Or
Not really. My mom's like crazy Christian. She thinks she's a prophet. And maybe she is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sometimes, we'll go to a restaurant. Right? Sometimes she's right. And then sometimes, one time we went at my job when I worked at Fridays, and she touched the server's hand and she said, you know the word, and he's like, I'm going to Bible school right now.
Wow.
And then sometimes it just gets weird at Applebee's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I have seen her be right a lot. I don't think that's God. I think that's some kind of intuitive thing that our brain does, that some people are more in touch with others. It's funny. I would say, I guess I'm an atheist, but I also don't. I think it's both. I always think it's both.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say I don't believe in God like that, I'm also very open to there being a God that we probably don't understand.
Right.
Like ants and looking up at human beings. You've heard that before. I know that I fell in love with God, that I'm in love with that thing still.
Mm-hmm.
The thing when I used to preach that I would call the Holy Spirit before.
Yes.
That's the thing I go to for jokes still.
Yes.
And it's the way I try to conduct myself. I still hear this thing. I think it's probably in my brain, but I am also very open to it being something else.
Yeah, because I mean, even when because that always fascinates me about people because I feel like a lot of faith belief in comics is grandfathered in from our, great comics like Carlin and Pryor, who had atheistic ideas, who really railed against the church in a lot of their jokes. But the idea of God, like, it's like so hard for me to. When a guy gets into, this is a faith business in a way. How was your approach into comedy? Did you just have a logical idea that I would be successful?
No.
Or did you have faith in?
I was a funny
process?
pastor. I was a really good youth pastor. I was at the point where I was starting to make some good money.
Yeah,
dude. If I gave my life back to Christ, I would be rich.
That's the same thing David Smalley said. That's the same thing. If he flipped it back, I don't know what you guys are doing, man. You know what's funny is that it's like you are less atheistic probably than a pastor who, because he's like, well, this is mumbo jumbo anyway. Well, so why don't I just?
That's what I mean.
I don't really believe it.
When I left, I left because I felt like God wasn't in this thing.
Wasn't in this particular.
That God isn't. I don't think he's necessarily in the church business for the most part. There's so many churches. I would hate to say that's not the case. I knew for that particular church, yes. But if you read Jesus, he came to tear down the idea of church. He came to tear down the idea of religion. And so the funny thing is, one generation later, Peter, we just start building the church again.
Yeah, and he building it around culture. They're building it around, so it's like
around man.
Around
but
man.
But we've always done that according to the Bible. When the Israelites got out of Egypt, God asked them, I can be your king? You can follow me, or I can give you a man that's a king.
Pick Saul.
They always pick
I want that tall dude.
They always want the man.
The big shoulders.
And I think that's really what happens oftentimes in modern churches is they want to put all their faith and all in the pastor, so that they don't have to have faith or have their own relationship with God. That
you
they can
just
put
read
it on
me
that
this
man.
book, homie.
Yeah,
I come Sunday, you read it to me.
You do the work, and that's why we're paying you. I think evangelical Christianity, a lot of modern church is just so much based in capitalism, and that if you read the Bible, if you read what Jesus says, all these guys are ranting against capitalism and richness and empire, which was the Roman Empire at the time. But now we live in America. America is the empire now.
Right.
And most of us just bow at its values, at its feet and everything.
Right.
And I would say, oh yeah, I'm going against that, but I'm really not. We're trying to make it in stand-up comedy.
Right.
The Hollywood industry. We know in many ways it's a bad, gross industry. And we're trying to do it with being as clean as possible. I know I'm trying to do it, not get as dirty or take on the values of Hollywood as much as possible. Right. But I don't, I don't know if I don't know if it's a good thing for us to be pursuing this. I'm going to keep doing it.
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
Same here.
This is
Same
my
here.
gift. And this is the first thing since being in the ministry. I probably started 10 years after I quit the ministry. This is the first thing that felt like a calling again.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I was ever going to have that again.
Yeah.
And so I love this thing. I've devoted my heart to this thing. What we do at Chatterbox is try to build a community around that so that, when I started too, there was like hardly any Latino comics either, especially when we're talking about mainstream. There's always been like a refried, kind of like the Chitlin circuit.
Right,
There's always been a
right.
refried circuit where Latino comics just do with other Mexican comics for Mexican audiences.
Right.
But it's my goal, it's my dream to see Latino comics as part of the mainstream.
At the mainstream level, yeah. And when I came and I first met you at Chatterbox, that's what it felt. It was just a random night, but it was packed and people were into the whole show. And man, you can tell when somebody's called to something and is anointed for that purpose, man. It feels like that's what you found. Like you found a purpose. And with respect, when you compared comics to pastors earlier, I feel like comics do this for free for a long time. I don't know how much money you were making at Chatterbox if you break in the
bank. Not much, man.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's just like there's a certain poor righteous teacher idea. Even Paul was kind of a tent maker throughout his whole pastorage, and people would criticize him like, hey, dude, you got a day job? That's embarrassing. And you're out here preaching, But yeah, he was like, it keeps him honest. It keeps him like looking at the goal. Not to rail on people I like rich comics. I like rich pastors. Kevin Hart, come on the show one day with your rich behind. No, well,
I mean, that's what I mean is in America. I mean, and that's what we deem successful is when you're rich.
But it's so flipped in the kingdom of heaven. I think that's what Jesus is trying to get at.
Yes, absolutely. I 1000% agree with you. And I don't think the Bible's perfect, but that doesn't mean I don't love it.
Right.
And it doesn't mean. I mean, I'm struggling. I'm always wrestling with God, the idea of God. I don't believe that I've figured it out and put my belief system aside. I'm always down to talk about it because I think when we are talking about it and trying to figure this out, I think God is in this thing.
Yes, sir. I feel like, because I was where you're at. I grew up in church, but I didn't believe none of this. All mumbo jumbo. Grandma's crazy. She old. All these old people just need an idea of where to go when they scared. So that was my idea up until I had an experience, a revelatory experience with my consent. Now, not that I understand God, because to do that would be I stand over God in a way that I'm above it, right? So anybody that you talk to, they act like they understand God. They think they're God, right? They're worshiping their ego and culture probably, right? But I do think that a lot of people who accept it early in life, like I see a correlation because even David kind of grew up in the church, right? And then there happens a detachment from that because I detached from my parents and then had to reattach in a more healthy way as a grown man. But how did that? Did you feel like you were accepting? Like a relationship with God more, or was it a relationship with the church and your family? Like that was at the core of your evangelism, like come to my church, like not necessarily.
I think I from the time when we're talking about VBS 7 or 8 or something, I think I've always been in love with God like that.
Yeah,
and I have no problem, even though many Christians would disagree. I have no problem saying that I'm in love with God now, even though in one hand I say that, the other hand I'm saying I'm an atheist. Right. I'm still chasing the same thing I chased when I was little.
Yes, sir.
I'm still in love with that thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of people would not call that Christianity anyway, and I don't mind not calling myself Christian, but I still listen to that voice. It's how I still try to live my life. I think that was a big, strong part of it. Yes. But also I found something that I was very good at. Yeah. I think performing and analyzing the Bible and coming up with ideas. It's not too separate what we do than with comedy.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. I fell in love with the word and what words mean and how to analyze, how to construct sentences by reading the Bible, figuring out, why was that first sentence there? It's just like when we do a stand-up bit, and you're like, I don't need this sentence. It's a waste of time.
That fat.
Yeah, or I need to add something because I'm not being clear enough about getting this idea across.
Not creating the bridge. See, that's why I always tell comics too. What you think, if you're funny, you're funny. So the problem is not that anything you think is funny. So once we accept that, the issue is the bridge between what you're seeing in here and then what they're seeing out there, and how do we clarify to make that bridge easy
and
to travel.
And it could be a simple sentence. Yeah. It could be a few words.
Dude, years to get that sentence sometimes.
Definitely. I've fought over that, and I've had whole sentences that change how I view things and how to change big jokes and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah. I think Channing is doing a deep dive into this faith church. He's getting lost in that laptop.
Dude, I really am so glad they didn't get that money. These are bad. These are bad people, so I'm really glad about that. Yeah.
Dang, man. Now, and I know. So, and stop me if I'm getting too personal or anything like that. But I love so you're a part of the LGBTQ community.
Yes. I didn't know how much we want to talk about so I'll tell you this exact sentence. So I identify as queer, although I haven't had a sexual experience with a guy in like 5 or 6 years. Word. So they're gonna take my card away from me pretty soon. I know. I was just talking about this last night at Chatterbox. Chatterbox open mic where I was like, God, I was, if you question whether or not I'm queer, I will tell you this: if I'm having group sex, I am gonna want to suck some. Okay, right. If that's not queer enough for you, I don't know what to tell you guys. Because most straight guys don't want to suck any kind of cock, all right? But I want to do it, if anything, to be remembered, Okay. Yeah, if anything, just to be remembered. I want this fool to be like 25 years later and to be like, damn, that fat Mexican guy sucked the fuck out of my. You know what I mean?
It's all right.
I'm a sexual warrior, Sean. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
I'm polyamorous. I'm non-monogamous.
Okay.
I'm queer. Word. So all of these things, and I'm married to a wonderful woman, a fellow stand-up comic named Julia Loken, who has a big astrology podcast called "What's Your Sign?" Yeah,
dude. Yes. And did you have those feelings early, like in life, or?
I feel like in my early 20s, I started to experiment. Yeah. I start to spare. I don't know if it's same for all guys, but when you're like, masturbating and then some like gay shit would pop in my head. I don't know if that happens to all guys or if it just happened to me. But yeah, at some point I started to experiment. At the time, I remember this was before the internet really. So you would like phone like 900 numbers, like that kind of things. And then I would meet up with guys that way. And then I found out that you can go to porn shops and then hook up with guys there. Like I said, I haven't done that in a long time. And my 20s were pretty chaotic. I don't know how much of those activities were like tied into like some kind of self-destruction or anything like that. But I definitely did those things, and I still might in the future. It's been 5 years. I don't know.
Word. Like, what were the other, like you say, was it dangerous? Or would you meet guys who you didn't know? And did you find yourself in precarious situations?
I mean, yeah, the whole thing safety? The whole thing is too. And it's not like I was using condoms all the time or that kind of thing. My drinking was bad in my 20s too. So I like a lot of comics, I was self-destructive. I think I probably still am in some way, but it's just not out of control anymore.
Right.
The Apostle Paul says that all things are permissible, but not all things are beneficial. That's a big time how I try to live my life out of. That I could do whatever I want, but a lot of things are probably not a good idea.
Right.
Yeah, so my life had been chaotic for a while. Right. It's not anymore. But I do wonder how much of that was tied into just the idea of chaos and self-destruction. Yeah. And that's not saying that all gay people are like that or anything. No, I don't think I'm gay like that. I have gay friends. My gay friend Jonathan is fucking gay, and so I'll talk about sucking a in group situations. He'll talk about a man's like clavicle, and I'm like, I've never thought about a man's clavicle in my life. I've never thought about a man's thigh or anything like that. So he's gay, and I don't think there's anything wrong with
no wrong with you.
Yeah, but for myself personally, I always wonder like how much am I really this is like a bisexual dilemma too. It's like, am I Mexican? The Latinos go through this too. Am I Mexican enough? That's all this stuff that always happens.
Where did you see the biggest clash, with their Mexican heritage or with the church itself? Or
my church was very white at the time. So
you can come in there talking about sucking this and doing that.
No. They couldn't do it. I mean, they were very against all this. They were a regular church. Yeah. But I didn't really do this stuff when I was practicing or in the church at all. It was mostly my 20s.
Once you got after 23, after you left.
Yeah, after I left.
Okay. And then, but what about your cousins and stuff? Did they know about it, or did they?
Everybody knows about everything now. I talk about this stuff on stage. I put it on my Instagram.
But you felt like you had to hide it back then. It was like some.
No, I've never really been that way.
Word.
Yeah. I've never really been that way. So now everyone's used to all these ideas because I've been talking about it for so long.
Yeah.
But I've just never been one to kind of hide the stuff because I just don't care.
And did that lose interest in the behavior itself? Like when you were like, I can just be honest about it. That's what I love. Like comics, we can versus church, right? You couldn't go up and say I'm being. Now, mind you, everybody sins. Everybody is all sin is right. Sin is death. Blah blah blah. They're all equally valued and things. But the church, you'll see pastors that can't be honest about things like in the way that a comedian can just be honest.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean you're telling the truth. I always say that. The honesty is not the truth. Honesty is your best attempt at the truth. It's your perspective mixed around whatever you're going through and being honest about it, and then we can find the way out of it there. But that said, did you find it freeing once you were able to get on stage and say that? And do you think that it made it less attractive to do it?
Yeah. No. I don't know what my deal is with that shit. To be honest, there's been people talk about being like, what's it called? it's something aromantic about that. So maybe I like to have sex with guys, but I don't like to date guys. I've never found men attractive. I don't think like, ooh, he's hot. But I do like fucking. Like I like fucking around like that. But it's been a long time, like I said, where I've put myself in those situations, and I'm probably not going to in the future either. So who knows? Yeah. But I will tell you, I wanted to talk about this stuff when I started doing comedy in 2010, but I was not a good enough comic to do it.
To talk about your own lifestyle?
Yeah, it's just too bizarre. To talk about gay shit in front of working class Mexicans, they won't laugh because it means they're gay. It's just probably like a black room too.
Word. Yeah, well, yeah, there is a heavy. You know what's funny though? Like even Richard Pryor would like honestly get up there, and not that
you're talking about the greatest comedian that's ever lived.
Right.
But think about how many other comics are able to do that.
Right.
There's hardly any big gay comics at all that aren't even sent to like a gay ghetto. There's no big mainstream gay comics where like a regular everyday blue collar worker, Mexican guy or black guy would go see him. There's nothing like that. Our country's racist, hates women, transphobic, homophobic. That's once you accept that, learn to live in that, that's fine. But yeah, I had to get very good. And when you want to talk about sentences, I had to get very good before I could make straight guys laugh at some of this shit. I'll never forget, I had the first time, I think one of the first times I hooked up with a guy, I went to a porn shop and this guy sucked my dick. And so I had this joke about it, but the joke was not working. They could not do it. And then finally I figured out the key lines to it. And I said, went in this room, this guy sees me and he says, hey, is it okay if I'm here? And I go, yeah. And then the guy asked me, hey, is it okay if I give you a blowjob? This is the joke I'm telling now.
Right.
And I got quiet. This used to be a closer. It's like it's a throwaway now, right? And I just let it get quiet. And I go, at that point, I had to ask myself a question, and that question was this: Steve, do you want to live the rest of your life knowing you are for sure 100% heterosexual, or do you want to get your dick sucked right now? And then that one, everyone would go like, ah.
Oh no!
Yeah, because most guys can understand. Yeah, we like getting our.
Word.
Yeah, and then that's the line where this joke I've been trying to tell for years now. Straight guys would laugh at that too, because it's like, yes, okay, am I gay? I don't know, or do I just want someone to suck my dick? And almost every guy can relate to that.
Yeah, okay. All right. I think Channing definitely, just so y'all know, Channing gave the Halo.
Hey.
I don't need you to say you would do it. I need you to say, I get it.
I get it. And you know what? And that's the essence of, I love the scientific approach. Like, how do I make this palatable? Because some things, there are societal things around. Now, churches for sure, you just can't talk about certain things. There's a blockage. I can't.
Well, that's why the church is considerably going down. People continue to leave it. You mentioned that is because you can't be honest at church for the most part.
Pastor can't get up there. I'm depressed, y'all.
Oh, you can't come in there and say this without people judging you.
Right.
The best form of church now, I think, is any kind of 12-step program where rich people go, poor people go. Everyone tells a story about how we're all losers and failures, and everyone can relate. See, and nobody gets paid.
Exactly. And what people don't realize, I love God so much. God is in everything to me. Right? Like God is either it's God or it's absent of God, which is also about God, right? So if you're absent of God, like when I hear like a Hozier song, I love that song. People are like, oh, that's a demonic song. It's about a guy worshiping a woman. It's about idolatry. But yes, in the empty, because it's honest, because he's telling the truth, his truth, you can hear an emptiness in the hollowness of going after this woman who will never quite love him the way that he's desiring to be loved, and how sacrificial he's been. So I'm like, wow, the love that I get from the idea of God, whether you believe it or not, is so, nobody can love me like that. Can't nobody do me like Jesus. But like, you know what I mean? Like nobody's going to be so sacrificial in their love in a human state, because it's conditional. My wife loved me because I don't cheat on her. So, and
is that the only reason why she loves you?
Basically, like, well, no.
The Song of Solomon is all about these two lovers. There's no even talk about God. And
Song of Solomon?
Yeah.
Oh,
all that is about is these two people fucking, a king fucking one of his concubines.
Dude,
and God is in that.
You know what's crazy? I wrote this down. I swear I wrote this down to ask Steve. But On your IG, you say you're non-monogamous. I didn't know you were in a relationship with somebody, but you say you're non-monogamous. King Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. Are you about to reach that body count, Steve? Are you about to break the record?
I've got a very high body count. No. But the older I get, the more I'm like, even within polyamory and all these things, you understand that the one currency we do have, and I know you mentioned this in another podcast, but is time.
Yes, sir.
And so I have a wife. We're about to have our first kid in November.
Congratulations.
Yes. I thank you so much. I'm very excited. Thank you so much. Yeah. I still date people. There's someone I've been dating for a few months now.
Yeah.
But and then there's stand up, and that's the real mistress right there.
Right.
She sucks up so much time right there. So,
Sir.
As much as I am able to, just like the Apostle Paul says, all things are permissible, but not all things are beneficial. Mm-hmm. I have to keep, as I grow older, as I get more mature, I have to keep like reining it in because my time is so precious. And it's going to be more precious, but go on.
Yeah. And there's no issues with the wife as far as like time spent, or are there rules or boundaries around
There aren't any, but I am very like in touch with her.
Okay.
So there are times when I know that she needs more attention and time and everything too. She's not polyamorous. She doesn't identify as that. I've been doing this for 15 years.
Word.
So even when we got together, she knew this is how. I used to be worse at it. I've gotten better at it.
Yeah.
But
wait, how do you mean like in relation to the other person being like feeling okay? Like, or
the whole thing is I'm always philosophically thinking about all of these things.
Yes,
but more like, you've heard the term ethical non-monogamy.
Ethical non-monogamy.
It's all right if you haven't heard that term.
No, I haven't heard the term.
Have you heard that term?
Break it down.
I've heard it, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It just means, I don't, for myself, I'm polyamorous. So that means I believe that you can love more than one person at one time. Non-monogamy does not necessarily imply that, but it's under that umbrella. And ethical means that everyone's in on it, so you're not lying to anybody.
So it's almost like they're set free. So, but you'd be fine if she changed her mind about her status as far as being like maybe she wants to try polyamory.
If she wanted to, I would love that.
Yeah,
it would be my dream. At some point, if my dick is the last dick that is inside this woman, that would break my heart. There's a part of that would break my heart because I do believe that. I don't believe in. I really do think we're supposed to love more than one person at one time. I think I don't think this Christ says what I'm about to say, but I do think the nuclear family is kind of a form of. Christ definitely was not down with the nuclear family. I think the gospel tells us that. I think that's a form of separating each other. I think we should all live in communes. I know it's hard. I know it's not safe and nobody wants to do it. But I think ideally we're supposed to kind of like be in larger groups and share each other.
Man, you know what? That's interesting. You know what? Even as I get old, I'm like, it's just too much. You know what? Maybe it's because I'm trying to weigh all the feelings.
Now, with that said, let me tell you something. What I really believe is that I don't think that it's for everybody. I think that there is a small percentage of people, maybe 5% of people are polyamorous. I only date other people that are polyamorous.
Right.
And we know each other when we see them, and we don't have any jealousy with each other usually, and we're just the same. I've always had crushes on so many people.
Yeah.
I would break up with girlfriends, get with someone else, and then get back with the girlfriends. Yeah. I would do all of this before I found all of these philosophies. Yeah. And now when I found the philosophy, I was like, oh, this is what I am.
That's cool. That's why I like to talk to people of different, because that reality is so interesting to me. I mean, and maybe I don't know if it's being an empath or something, but like I don't know. I just like I would always wonder how she feel, like, and I know how people can change, because there's people that start a relationship a certain way, like they say, oh no, I get it. Like literally every relationship I've had, there's never an announcement that we should be official right? But
Yeah.
at some point, and this is what I tell young guys, you feel like you know, especially after you do it a few times, when that switch gets flipped, when the expectation for your behavior comes.
You get to have
different.
sex with someone 5 times, and then you got to have this talk. That's usually what I find. I mean, what you're talking about.
Right.
Me,
right,
I'm
right,
always
right.
polyamory stuff too. People think it's like this huge sex thing, but you have no idea. It's mostly just talking about feelings forever.
Right, so that's the other thing.
Talking about stuff for hours,
got
which
your
I
point.
like.
Oh,
I'm very
see?
much a relationship
You don't have
person.
a PlayStation or Xbox?
I do, but it's not. That's where when we talk about me being queer and stuff like that, I love relationships.
Yes.
I love talking for hours, having conversations with friends, our lovers, and everything. I love communicating about all this stuff. This is my shit.
Yes,
so
sir.
when a lot of people go like, that sounds like too much work for me. I believe that.
Right.
It's not for me. I love the shit.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's how I know I'm cis. I don't want to talk about shit.
What is that? What is this again? I've heard this, but what is it?
I don't even really know. I just know it's
cis.
the base
Like if you
model.
say I'm cisgendered, it means that I feel and conduct myself the way that like mainstream society.
Oh, okay. You
So
just-
if he says I'm a cis straight white male, that means I'm just
Basic.
I'm a white guy. Yeah,
I'm
everything.
base model.
Yeah, everything.
AM,
the
FM
way I
radio.
feel is
One
exactly
dog,
how society expects
picket
me
fence,
to conduct
gotcha.
myself and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm interested because you guys, and congratulations, this is your first child coming
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Do you have a plan for how to rate? Will the child be introduced to theology or these ideas or morality, or what will you guys base that around, and how what you think your sexual behavior will you keep it separate, like different girlfriends coming out, or like do you have a plan for that?
We don't have a plan. We'll
Yeah.
see how it goes. I don't. These people are my friends, or I see no problem with them. They'll eventually, when they're of the age to understand what's going on, 10 or whatever, I'll explain what my philosophy is or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I don't. I've thought about this stuff too. I don't know. We're definitely not going to raise it in like a regular Christian church or anything, but.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the church. The church saved my life. They taught me. I came from a very chaotic family, alcoholism and all that kind of stuff, and it put me around people where I saw what a healthy family looks like. Yeah. It taught me the word. My life would be radically different, I think, for the worse if I did not have my church experience.
Right.
So I guess we got to figure that out. I don't know, maybe a Unitarian church, but the more you deconstruct your faith, the more you kind of stop wanting to be a part of an organized thing. But I do think it's an incredible thing to have a set time set aside every week to think about the higher things.
Yeah,
like God, like spiritual things, which I think might be the truer reality.
Right, and engage them in that, like in having a relationship and understanding of that.
Yeah,
and be able to at least like have a conversation with other people who might.
Yeah. There are very liberal churches that we can go to, and we might do that. Julia's dad used to be a pastor, so and as long as their theology is cool and open, then I'm down to go to a church like that.
Yeah, and now as somebody that I would love to, I feel like I'm going to start this process that you're in right now as far as pregnancy and stuff. Do you feel like because there's what I understand, and I don't mean there's emotional mood swings, there's like cravings, there's things like that. Have you been dealing with that, and does that affect any other parts of your lifestyle, comedy? Or?
No. I mean, she's great. I will tell you. I thought it was going to take, when we both got together, we were on the fence about kids.
Yes.
And then she slowly, like in the middle of the pandemic, tipped over.
Okay.
And I really do think of marriage as I'm not, being a polyamorous person means that I think it's I think marriage is a financial institution. And so when I agreed to marry Julia, then we are forming a corporation together. Right. I think a big part of the corporation is to ensure that doing your best to make sure that the other person is happy and gratified, doing your best to do it. I think ultimately that should be everyone's own responsibility. But a big part of that, so she allows me, quote unquote, to be polyamorous, but she at least respects me and understands that this makes me happy. It makes me feel healthy. It's the way I need to live, even though she's not that way. And so when we're talking about having a kid, even though it's not necessarily something that I maybe would have chosen, I know that I'm going to love it. I know that I'll be good at it. And I know it's going to ultimately make her happy. So that was the thinking behind all of that.
Right.
Now, I thought it was going to take longer.
Oh.
One cum, Sean.
Oh.
Just one cum.
Bam.
First try.
One cum. I came in her one time when she was ovulating. And then we decided that she needed to quit her job.
Maybe that's the name. One cum. Come on.
Come on, come on. Yeah. So then we decided that she needed to quit her job like a week or two after that, just because it was just causing her a lot of distress. It was just not a good place for her mentally. And then I told her, you better pray that you got a baby out of that one cum, because you're not going to get any more until you get,
Look at prayer.
Until your probation period's over at your new job.
I need that. Won't he do it? Look at that. You pray and here comes one cum. Yes.
But she got it out of the one cum, and she's not working now.
That's a miracle.
So yeah, I'm picking up slack. I'm doing a lot of other things, and
yeah,
we'll see. But I don't mind. Yeah, I'm not that kind of Mexican, okay? I'm not getting off on being the sole provider.
Right.
I'm an artist, okay? Right. That's what I told her. I don't like this shit. I'm an artist. I'm 50-50. But she's not working. She hasn't been working. She's 6 months pregnant now. And, we're doing it. So, yeah, we'll see.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
And I pray for a stressless, free, like just everything to just go well for her.
Thank you so much.
And for
Thank
this family, man. And I love how your heart is open to so many ideas, man. I think it's a great I feel like, that's the key. That's the key to this show is that, we come, we exchange ideas and people can, we come. We one time. We come one time and we express our ideas. We enjoy one another and without judgment, man. So thank you so much for doing. But I do, want to. Hold on, let me show you what's up, because as much as we up in here convening and enjoying each other's company, bam, this is what I'm about. Okay, now I'm not. Come on now.
Oh, go ahead.
Give me that. Because that's what I need to get hyped up. I'm on a losing streak, people. Okay? Now, my man, Steve, he knows a lot. He was a youth.
So, Sean, you said you grew up in the church, but you didn't really care that much?
You should see these questions. First of all, Channing is, before we do this, Channing is a Judas. He's on the guest side. He literally admitted last week he tried to hint answer to Leah. So I think we need some reformat. We need to go back.
I'm just saying, you said you grew up in the church, but you didn't pay attention that much or whatever. But just from talking to you, I can tell you know the Bible well. Where did that come from?
You know what? Oh, sorry. We'll get started. It came from, I would have to memorize scripture and stuff didn't really make sense to me. And it's great you brought up, like the passage you brought had sheep and goats. The first thing I had to memorize was the Lord. I'm sorry. The Lord is my shepherd. It's a Psalm 23. Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul.
Green pastures.
Green pastures. Yeah. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Stuff like that. As I grew and I had a relationship with God, and I was like, because we don't grow up in a society that has shepherding, so we didn't know all these metaphors. It's really some bars in there. When you look at, a sheep, you have to lay it down because otherwise it will graze until it dies or its stomach will explode. So I'm like, God wants to provide you so much abundance that you have. So these things started opening up to me. They weren't just mumbo jumbo, but that's why I honestly believe there's probably 5 people that believe this stuff. There's probably, honestly, in the world, not Christian. A lot of people love their culture. They love their ego. They worship money. They worship because they really, when you think of but me, I'm not to say I'm better than anybody. I just love a relationship with understanding and going through the chronologies of the Bible.
Well, that's what's interesting to me because I know the Bible well. I fell in love with the Bible when I was young. And most Christians don't know what's in there at all.
No idea.
So to me, I'm like a huge Star Wars head. So I like talking about the stuff, even if I don't necessarily believe it like I used to. Right. But I love talking about the stuff.
Right.
But when you run into most Christians, they don't even know what's in there.
I love engaging it on that level because what happens is then people avoid, a lot of Christian people avoid stuff like David Smalley brought Leviticus. I wasn't shocked, but I was like, when people said they didn't say you were ex-evangelical, but the assumption was that you were atheist, that you would probably bring something from Leviticus or Deuteronomy or some of the more problematic Old Testament things, but you brought something from the New Testament. But even still, like, when you really are trying to engage with the word and you go, okay, this was a chosen people who were trying to whatever, and even they had to interpret certain things around their own society,
you've heard
not
from
to justify anything.
Yeah, but you've thought you've heard from God, and looking back, you were probably wrong, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I think these people are just like you and me.
they're just people.
They're just
and
people.
I think that's what I love about the Bible. I'm shocked that because all the things I would hear in church are like how cool King David, he's a great dude. But the Bible does not hide the fact that he had his homie killed, right, to sleep with his wife and tried to make it seem like it was the dude's baby. And his Adnan, when he brought him, Achan or Aaron, one of them. But anyway, brought the homie back from war. Uriah. You were ashamed to know that.
No.
You were ashamed of it.
I know the Bible, fool. What are you talking about?
Uriah. Bathsheba was Uriah's wife, and then David saw her while she was bathing and slept with her and tried to make the baby seem like it was his baby. And then
ultimately, that's why I think what, the Bible calls David a man after his own heart. I ultimately think that if there is a God like that, or if the God of the Bible is real and stuff, that, he looks down at us and I think he's like, man, this guy fucking rules. I don't think it has anything to that. David, he's just like, man, this fool went for it. So at the very least, if the God like this is real, I want him to look down and say, man, that fool went for it.
You mean by getting Uriah killed?
Oh, doing all of it. I mean, God said that's all part of it.
Word.
David loved. He went after
Uriah.
Yeah, obviously,
he's pretty honorable.
He does. Yeah, but he doesn't. God loved David more.
Oh. Dang.
That's what the Bible says.
Well, no, I mean, it's that I think he had to find grace, and because he cried until the dirt was
mud. Who gives a shit? The Bible said God loved David more.
Well, he just happened to be king, but you're right.
God loved David more. That's what the Bible says. All right. Less. He loved him less.
I think because David pursued God, and but now it flipped. So when God came and gave his life, he pursued us, or there's the idea behind Jesus. He's the shepherd that will, like David, who was a shepherd, right? And your word had sheep, went after the sheep that was in the lion's mouth and saved it from the lion's mouth. And I hope that knowing all this stuff is going to help me whoop your behind in this Bible belt. Because that would be a shame if I just showed off all this knowledge. Channing worked so hard on that intro. Please hit that intro again. Run that song back, baby. Channing worked so hard on this. And we cleared this, so I'm not getting sued.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, believers and non-believers alike, it is time to battle for the belt. Your host, Sean Grant, is coming off of two back-to-back losses to the guest. Steve Hernandez, you are representing the guests, meaning that you are the current champion of the Bible belt, the current belt holder. Sean Grant is attempting to win his belt back through three trivia questions through 3 separate rounds. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Yes. And Leah provided a bogus tactic. You have to answer first. So if we tie, you win anyway, right? Okay. If we push, you win. But you answer first, then I answer. That way you can't just ride my answers, even though I was getting them wrong too. But if you wrote my answers, then we would tie and you'd win. But yeah, you answer first. So here's the first question from Channing. He found it on the website.
Question 1. What is required for anyone to understand God's word? A, dictionary. B, Holy Spirit. C, seminary degree. Or D, commentary.
B, Holy Spirit.
B, Holy Spirit.
Correct answer is?
Yes, sir.
Holy Spirit. 1-1. That one was a layup. We've had some real
He's had some
real par
BS
fives
up in here, man. Talking about eagle feathers and all this stuff.
Question number 2.
I hated that question.
What happened just before Elijah was taken up into heaven?
Oh, I got it.
This is wrong.
Wait, what?
What appeared? Sorry, I read that wrong.
Oh.
What appeared just before Elijah was taken up into heaven? A, an oarless boat. B, a sack of gold. C, a chariot of fire. Or D, a bronze ox.
C, a chariot of fire.
And you have the cursor on C.
No, we knew. I knew that. I knew it. I knew it. Keep it going.
I clicked on the wrong thing. That's why.
Oh, dude.
Right, 2-2.
Channing is, man.
You asked me to make the questions easier.
No, I appreciate it.
That's what I did.
I'm just talking about the tactics. You need to be investigated, brother. This is my own Mar-a-Lago thing going on here, man. The cursor was right on.
This one's easy, too.
Who was not allowed into the promised land because God was angry with him.
Who was not allowed into the promised land because God was angry at them.
It was Moses, man.
It was Moses.
Because he broke the damn thing.
Yeah.
You guys just want to go with that? See Moses?
It's
Yes,
Moses.
it's Moses.
Yeah, good for you. Hey. Yeah.
You just have I'm just too hardcore. You just have two hardcore guys on your hand.
You know
all.
what? I lost to David Small because, dude, you guys studied that book, man.
You studied it. You know it.
Yeah. But I mean, I should know it. I do this.
You guys want to go into overtime?
Sure.
You have
Let's see
one
what else
more?
you got.
I can bring one up.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, let's see.
Uh-oh.
Now I just want
vamp
to
for
find
a
one that I
quick
can't get.
We're gonna go on to expert mode.
Oh. Okay. So now it's not gonna be on the screen. But yeah, Shannon will look it up on his. What is this website? I don't know if we should give him credit.
King James Bible Online.
King James Bible Online. If you guys ever want a Bible quiz, but they do have a novice, which is way too easy. The beginner was really hard.
Man, I want some of those hard ones.
Yeah.
I just want to get stumped.
Yeah, I think this one's. If it's expert, no way we'll know. It's just like this is gonna be some crazy.
If they're asking
How many
about Greek or
pimples
something like that.
did David have on on his forehead? That'd be
Let's
crazy.
see. Let's try this one. Which of Saul's sons reigned for 2 years over Gilead? A. Jonathan. B.
Okay.
Mephibosheth.
Okay.
How do you say that?
I don't know.
Oh no, yeah.
Mephibosheth.
Oh yeah. Okay, okay.
C. Ishbosheth.
Ishbosheth. Yeah.
Or D. Ner. These all just sound like
Yeah.
noises.
Well, I know Jonathan was the one that
He
he had a
gave it to
relationship
David.
with
Yeah.
David.
So it wasn't
but it
Jonathan.
wasn't Jonathan. I'm gonna go with Mephibosheth. I know the name Mephibosheth.
Then I'll go with C, but I don't know this.
Yeah, I don't know it either. But who is it?
The correct answer is C.
Whoa!
So I win.
Oh, it's a Mephibosheth.
So I win the belt.
You really? Now you legit won the belt off of Ishbosheth. Ishbosheth.
But to be
Ishbosheth.
fair, I did not know that at all.
No. Great job, man. Now I feel better
That's
losing.
why I don't go on expert level. I can't even say this shit.
I feel better losing to you, man. Congratulations,
Thank you,
Steven
Sean.
Hernandez, man. Thank you so much for being on the program. Where can people find you? I know you're touring, you're doing your thing. And there's always the Chatterbox on a weekly basis. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm come to the Chatterbox every Sunday night. It's one of the best shows in Los Angeles.
Sir.
In Covina every Sunday night at 8 o'clock. We're going to start a Saturday weekly headliner show starting in October. And I'm headlining Riff City Comedy in San Diego on the last Wednesday of the month. I believe it's the 27th. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to do my full hour.
Yeah.
And Julia's going to open for me. She's in beast mode right now. She's got her new pregnancy stuff is so fun. So come check us out.
Guys, make sure you go do that. Check and then follow Steve online as well at Hernia on Instagram.
At Hernia on Instagram, at Big Hern on Twitter.
Big Hern on Twitter. Guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Follow me. I am Sean Grant on Instagram and then TikTok and all that stuff. But follow at Comedian Bible Study every Wednesday. We do a live IG Bible study with my homies from all across the country and the world. So we'd love to have you engage with that. Ask us questions. Send them in. And make sure you follow Channing at The Other Channing.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
On Instagram. Channing, thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.
Glory to God, man. That was fun.